represented England at national level in powerlifting and has even competed in Britain's Strongest Woman. Faye has also inspired countless others to overcome adversity and to face change. And last year, Faye picked up Northamptonshire's Most Inspirational Woman Award of 2015. So we're very lucky to have her here. Okay, so if she's mic'd up and ready to go, you're almost there.
We're getting there, we're getting there.
We are. Brilliant. Okay, do you need these speech? Are you just talking or do you want the slides?
No, I'm just talking.
Okay.
Yeah.
Faye Jordan.
Hi guys, so my name's Faye and I'm a powerlifter at the moment. I do a few different things actually. I compete in powerlifting, strongman, which you see at Christmas, you see the world's strongest man on TV, and the guys lifting a big Atlas stone and that kind of thing. So I compete in that. I also work in promoting Britain's Strongest Woman and sort of sport for women in this country. And I do a little bit of work with guys as well. And alongside that, I also own a gym over in Northampton. I've been there now for 5 years. But when I was your age, even younger, it wasn't exactly the path that I decided that I was going to do. It wasn't something that I knew that I wanted to do when I was younger. When I was at school, I did a lot of sport, so I did pretty much every sport going. I was captain of the hockey team. I think I was school shot put champion at some point. I ran the 100 metres, the 200 metres, pretty much anything that the teacher said, will you do this? Yeah, no worries, turned up, ran it, or threw it, or whatever, really. Love sport at school. And I used to go running quite a lot. My dad actually owned a running club, also started a running club in our area. And so from the age of about 8, I was out there on my bike fun with the runners along when I was old enough to keep up with them. I used to jog along with them. And so sport and running and that was my life. And I went to all of my sport clubs in my teenage years. And I got my GCSEs, did okay in those. Went on to college and studied I wanted to be a PE teacher at that point. I did that as my work experience in year 10, I think it is, you do that. And had decided to go into possibly PE teaching. I wasn't completely sure, but that's what I wanted to do. So I went to college to study sports studies, human biology, psychology for my A-levels. I moved out of home at this point. I was living with my boyfriend and I got a phone call one day. And said, hello, is this Faye Jordan? Yes. Are you with this guy? Yeah. We have him here at Addenbrooke's Hospital. We live in Cambridge at the time. Okay. He'd popped out for milk about 2 hours ago and not come back. He'd actually had a motorbike accident. He'd been hit by a van. It was run into the side of him. His leg was completely smashed to pieces, really. When I walked in and saw him laying there, he said, I think I've broken my leg. I looked at it and was like, yeah, we have both. It wasn't pretty, that's all I have to say. So I actually left college to help look after him because we moved back in with his parents, it wasn't working, and I thought the right thing to do is to look after him and get him right. He was in a wheelchair for about 6 months. I thought I could always go back to college, I can take a year out and go do my A-levels all the time. It's not the end of the world. Things moved on. We actually aren't together anymore, we were together after that. We're still friends via Facebook because it's amazing. So I still speak to the guy regularly and we're still very good friends. We're not together anymore. I actually moved down to the West Country. I went to live in Newquay for the summer because I thought it'd be fun, really. I thought I'd got a job in a pub. Thought I'd go there, be on the beach parties, you know, have a bit of fun before going back to college at a later date. When I was down there, I became very ill. And no one actually knew what was wrong. I couldn't breathe very well. It was like I had a chest infection, pretty much, and it lasted for a couple of months. And me being me, I thought, I'll be alright, just carried on. It got to the stage where I literally couldn't breathe, and all of my head here started swelling up, and I was getting septicemia, so the rash down your arms were pretty much blood poisoning. So I got admitted into hospital at this point. I'd actually been in hospital, I think, the week before, and they thought I had pneumonia, which I didn't, so I discharged myself because I kind of felt that they weren't quite getting it right. So I got into hospital. At this stage, I couldn't breathe very well. I couldn't sit up. I couldn't do very much really. and was on oxygen, and they tested me for everything. The scariest test that I had was for HIV. And I was kind of happy that in the fact that I probably didn't have HIV, but for somebody to take a blood test and tell you that's what they're testing for was one of the scariest moments of my life. And he came back a couple of hours later and he said, I've got some good news. You don't have HIV. And I said, yes, he said, but we do think you have cancer. To be told you have cancer rather than HIV, I was actually quite happy with that, because you can kind of get better from cancer, can't you? So that was kind of good news in the end. And actually what they found was a tumour in the middle of my chest here, around about the size of a grapefruit. And the reason why my head was swelling up and I couldn't breathe was there was 2 litres of fluid sat around the outside of it. And it was sort of compressing all the veins in my chest, it was pressing on my heart, pressing on my lungs, and it was then poisoning my blood as well. So at this point they had to start chemotherapy pretty fast. As in, I think it was the next day that we started chemotherapy. So we were on the verge of not really being here anymore at that point. So I started chemotherapy. In the end I had 2 years worth of treatments. I had pretty much all the chemotherapy they could throw at me. I had radiotherapy, I've had bone marrow transplants. There were many complications that happened through those 2 years. One of them was I lost the sight in my right eye, lost the hearing in my right ear through meningitis that I contracted whilst having a bone marrow transplant. And I relapsed multiple times. The cancer went into my spinal fluid, it was in pretty much every lymph gland in my body. And we got to the stage and said, look, there's not much else we can do. And they consolidated the treatment with a course of radiotherapy. And they said, at the end of this, if it hasn't gone, we don't know what to do next. So they said, come back in 3 months and we'll retest you. So I moved back home, which is up in Bedfordshire, and with my boyfriend at the time, we actually got married in those 3 months. We thought, well, you've got 3 months to live, you may as well do something fantastic. So we had an awesome wedding, it was brilliant. So we did that, we went back 3 months later and they said the cancer's gone. And that was the last time that, I have checkups every now and then. That was now, I was 22, yes, I was 22 and now nearly 34. So over sort of 12 years later, after them pretty much saying you're not going to get better from this, then we did. But it had left me quite damaged. There's a lot of scarring on the inside of my lungs. They only work about 50%. Obviously I've lost the sight in my eye, the hearing in my ear. I couldn't walk very well at this point, and I lost my balance completely from the loss of sight and hearing, and my lungs were so damaged. I actually lived on a first floor flat at the time, and this is when I was back down in the West Country, and I couldn't go out of my house by myself because one, I couldn't see and I kept on falling off curbs, which was kind of funny. But I couldn't. If there was a bump in the pavement, I would just be like falling over myself because I couldn't see if there was a bump. Everything looked flat, but also I couldn't walk upstairs because I was too out of breath and too dizzy. The chance of me passing out on the way back up the stairs was too much, so I was pretty much housebound. I couldn't even do the washing up because I got too out of breath standing there with my hands in a sink of water. It was from being so fit as a kid, from being able to run a 10k just because I feel like it, from running around playing hockey, rugby, I played rugby for the county, from being able to do all of that kind of stuff to then not be able to walk up a flight of stairs or do my washing up. And that happened in the space of a couple of years. I was in my early 20s. That it was a shock to the system, but I didn't want to really give up. And they told me when I had the treatment that I'd probably never have children because I don't know if any of you know about chemotherapy, but it kills off some of the reproductive processes. So the chance of having children after that was pretty much next to nothing. But I was married to this guy. We started up a business together. We started up a landscape gardening business. I was getting fitter and kind of stronger each day, and I tried to train myself to get fitter and stronger. And then one day I found out that I was pregnant, which was kind of a shock. And so I thought, oh, okay. Did about 15 tests to actually prove that it was okay. Then in 2006 I had my first son. He's now nearly 10. He's amazing. You think that maybe the process of the chemotherapy might have made conceiving sort of a healthy child sort of more difficult. It didn't. He's absolutely amazing. He's actually into his science. He lost track of him now. So yeah, I had a son, and we had this business. And unfortunately, now I couldn't help out with the business because I had a baby to look after. So I retrained as a fitness instructor. I trained as a fitness instructor when I was 18, and after I left college, and I'd done a little bit of work in that. I thought, well, maybe I can go back into doing that. I got a job in a gym, and the reason I got this job was because they wanted me to work on something called an exercise referral scheme, and that's where people are referred by their GPs or by medical professionals to exercise in order to improve their health. The reason I was brought in to do it is because I kind of understood. I was in that process myself. I was 2 years out of having my last chemotherapy and radiotherapy treatments, and I kind of understood it. I was doing it for myself, so why not do it for other people as well? So I got this job, and I actually moved up through that job quite well. I ran the exercise referral scheme for them. I then got asked to be a supervisor and a duty manager for the company too. I then fell pregnant again with my second son. So I did take some maternity leave. While I was on maternity leave, I thought, well, actually, childcare costs are quite high. To have one child in childcare is fine. To then have two, that doubles your costs. And I thought, well, I can't actually go back to work full time, however much I would have liked to. So I started up a personal training business in my area. I lived in Flitwick, just down the road from here, to start off with. So I thought, well, I can work from home. My husband was working during the day. I thought, well, I can go to do some things in the day where I can take the kids. So I taught a lot of antenatal classes for exercise, people that just had babies as well, postnatal exercise. I trained, whilst I was pregnant with my middle son, I trained as an antenatal coach as well. So I'd take them along with me. Tyler, bless him, he'd be laying on an exercise mat at the back of the room with his legs and arms waving in the air. I'll be teaching the class, everyone else has had their babies there too. Occasionally, like as he got older, he'd sit on my back when I was doing press-ups and things like that. But they came along with me, and if there's a creche there, they'd go in the creche. If not, then it was great. So I worked in the day doing things where I could take the kids with me, and in the evenings I'd go out and do personal training. Well, once my husband had got home from work, and it was great, everything was going very well. Until one day I got ill again, and I'd been ill for a few months, sort of on and off, and I wasn't quite sure what was going on. They thought that I had vertigo, they thought it was an inner ear thing. I had blazing headaches. They tested my eye that worked still, they said that was actually okay, so I wasn't too worried about that. But I wasn't getting better. In the end, it got to the state where I was constantly being sick, couldn't sit up, couldn't do anything. Got rushed into Oxford Hospital, and they thought that I had lymphoma, which is a type of cancer that I had in my brain. It turned out I didn't, luckily. It was meningitis instead. So I spent nearly a month in the hospital in Oxford, the neurosurgery team there, and they were looking after me, obviously, in case anything else went wrong. But we got better again. But I did kind of realise at that point that maybe running around all over the county, teaching exercise classes with two kids, getting up in the night with them, then working in the evenings, might be a little bit much for my poor body because it had been through a lot, really. So I decided to get into management of fitness. So I applied for a few jobs, and at this point I wasn't really qualified, I wasn't really experienced enough to do it, but I thought, well, if I just apply for some jobs, I might get one. I'm quite good at interviews, so I can wing it, it'll be fine. So I got a job in Northampton as a fitness supervisor, sort of stroke fitness manager at a very posh sports club over there. And started working there. At that point, actually, my husband and I split up through sort of complete other reasons. So I moved up to Northampton as well to work there, so I thought I'd be closer to my work, and that's how I ended up there. That job didn't turn out in the end. I didn't particularly like it. I didn't like the way the system was, particularly with the management of that particular company. And I ended up moving on to somewhere else and running some exercise referral schemes at a gym they have at the hospital over in Northampton. And I was the assistant manager of the sports club there. I then fell pregnant again. I'd been with my boyfriend for a while at that point, who I actually met at the posh health club. And I went on maternity leave, and in this time he actually left, and we started a small personal training gym just out of the garage in our house. And I was working for this club at the hospital, and they had a squash court that was not very used very often. So I decided that I would rent this squash court out to my boyfriend to have as a personal training studio. So we bought some equipment and we put it in there. and it went kind of well. It went so well actually that in 6 months we decided to expand, and a warehouse unit came available that was 5,000 square foot. The squash court is 500 square foot, so we pretty much expanded 10 times the amount. And so we took on this place, and it put us in a huge amount of debt, and for the last 5 years we have actually worked probably an average around 80 hours a week. It's got a bit better recently, but to start off with, we were there all the time, the kids were there all the time, but we had to do to make it work. And it's now a successful business. And that's kind of how I got into powerlifting and things. One day a lady came in, said, "Hello, my name's Siobhan and I'm Britain's strongest woman." You could Google her, she's absolutely fine with this. Her name's Siobhan Highland, she was Britain's strongest woman in 2011. And this was in 2012, and I said, "Oh, okay, cool." She said, "Can I train you at the gym?" I said, "Yeah." "What are you training for?" "Britain's strongest woman 2012. I said, "Oh, okay, cool, sounds fun." She said, "Yeah, well, if it happens, the events, there's not very many people entered it, and they might cancel the event." I said, "They can't do that, surely, it's a national title. They can't just cancel it, like, there must be people who do it." I said, "I'll do it, I'll sign up. What do I have to do?" And then, so she said what I had to do, and I thought, well, I probably can't do that, but whatever, I'll turn up anyway. If it makes up numbers and it makes the event happen, why not? Come and have a go. I train for weights anyway, because I can't do cardio anymore, I can't do any running, I can't do any sports like rugby or football or anything like that, because I just haven't got the lung capacity to do it. So I have been training to lift weights. I thought, yeah, I'll turn up to Britain's strongest woman, why not? So I went to the event, took the kids along, they were like, "Mummy, mummy, mummy," shouting in the crowd, and did the events, and I thought, yeah, this is alright. Got to the end, I didn't even know where I was at this point. And they were reading it in reverse order, and they kept on saying somebody's name. I thought, I've not said mine. And we got to third place, and they said, "We have 2 people in third place," and they said my name and another lady's. And I've just come joint third at Britain's strongest woman out of 9 competitors for just signing up because I thought I'd make up numbers, so this other girl had a chance at defending her title. I thought, oh, blimey, I must be quite good at this. So I got into powerlifting after that, as I saw somebody put a post on Facebook about a powerlifting event they'd done, and the weights they lifted. I thought, oh, cool, I could do that. So I rocked up to this powerlifting event. I had no idea what I had to do. You have to wear special clothes for powerlifting, you have to wear special equipment. The rules for in powerlifting, the movements you have to do are a squat, a bench, like a bench press where you lay down, and a deadlift, so picking a bar up from the floor to standing up straight here. I had no idea of the rules of actually how I was meant to execute these 3 movements. So one of the ladies took me aside and gave me a 10-minute, "This is what you need to do now, get out there on stage and do it." And so we did that, and in that competition I qualified for the British Championships. I didn't realise I had until somebody told me afterwards. So I turned up to the British Championships that year. By this time I'd decided to actually research what I was meant to be doing at these events and to do it properly. And I came third at the British Championships, which was amazing to get a bronze medal in that. And I got selected from that to represent England in a competition called the Four Nations, which is England, Ireland, Scotland, Wales, and we all go along, lift weights against each other, and then have an awesome after party afterwards, because everyone kind of knows each other. It's a team sport, so it's a brilliant event to go along to. I then decided that I was actually quite good at bench press, and they do bench press only events. So the next year, I entered a couple of bench press events, and I won those. I won the British Championships and I won the English Championships, and got asked if I'd go and represent Great Britain at the World Championships in Sweden last year, which was amazing, absolutely amazing offer to go and represent my country in something that I'd kind of fallen into by accident. I just kind of thought that, yeah, well, I want to do something, I want to train, I'm at a gym all day because I own it, so I may as well lift weights, and then from that to turn into, well, you represent your country. Yeah, was the answer, obviously. So I went to the World Championships for the bench press last year, and then came back from there, went to the British Championships for what we call equipped lifting, which is where you wear really tight clothes to make things easier. But everyone wears them. It's the way that it's done in America a lot more than over here. And I won the British Championships, and again then got asked to go and represent Great Britain again last September at the Western European Championships over there. Unfortunately, I went there injured. I'd torn a disc in my back a few weeks beforehand. I still went. I didn't lift particularly well, but I still went because I wanted to sort of be there for the team, and if one person dropped out, then the team doesn't get as many points. So I thought I'll go along and I'll just do what I can do. And that was in a place called La Manga in Spain. I don't know if any of you heard of the La Manga resort. It's where Premiership footballers go for their holidays, and like rugby players go. It's absolutely amazing. It's just beautiful. You feel like a superstar walking around the place. And I'm just looking at everyone. There's a professional rugby team there when I was there. I was laying in the sun lounge and watching them walk past. I thought, oh my gosh, this is just so surreal. But absolutely amazing, and a brilliant opportunity to go there and do it. And that's kind of how I got into it. And I've recently, a couple of weeks ago, went along to the British Championships for this year, and I won that again 2 weekends ago. So I'm hopefully waiting for an email that says, would I like to go to the Europeans or something like that this year. That would be very nice. I'm representing Great Britain again next month in the World Bench Press Championships. So I won the British Championships again in January this year. So moving forwards, that's what I want to do. But as Jan said about education, there is not any money in powerlifting, there's not any money in strongman. But there is the opportunity to then use that as part of your career. I've recently trained as a powerlifting coach for the federation that I lift in, so obviously I'm a personal trainer, I've been doing that for a long time. But to be able to coach powerlifting and then to travel around the world with other powerlifters, coaching them, that's my dream. That's what I want to do. And so I've just got that qualification. There's a level 2 qualification for it soon that I'll be doing in the summer, and then you can get the international one after that, which is the end goal really, to get an international qualification in coaching powerlifting. It means that you can go anywhere in the world and do it, which would be fantastic. So that's kind of where we're at now, and I think the main thing is with any story of how anyone's got to where they're going, it depends on how it doesn't depend on what you do particularly. It's about taking the opportunities when they arise. I was doing a talk like this in a school last week actually, for a load of 11 and 12-year-olds, and I actually took some equipment with me and demonstrated the bench press and the squat and the deadlift. I let the kids have a go, which was very cool. One of the kids, as I was demonstrating the bench press, he said to me, under his breath anyway, he said, "Show off." And I said, "What do you say?" And his mate goes, "He called you a show-off, miss." It's like, right, okay, well, I said, that might be what you think. And I said, but what is the problem with celebrating success for yourself? You should be proud of something you've done. I'm proud to stand here and be able to tell you that I'm 2 times British powerlifting champion. That's cool. You know, I'm proud of doing that. I'm proud of the work that I've put in to get there. Whether I fell into it by accident or not, it still takes a lot of work to get there. But I said to the kid, I said, but that doesn't mean to say I can't celebrate success of other people. And that's the main thing that you need to focus on. I said, if you're sitting there saying that I'm a show-off for showing you these things and telling you these things, then why can't you celebrate that success with me? Why can't you be happy for somebody else that has achieved something? I said, because I am. I'm happy when I train people. It doesn't matter what level they're at. Like, for every little personal best they get on that bar, on the weights they lift, I'm absolutely ecstatic for them. For somebody, from when my kids come home, my kids, obviously I'm biased towards my children, when they come home, every little achievement they have is absolutely amazing. To be able to celebrate your own success and celebrate other people's success alongside that, that's when stuff starts happening, and that's when the opportunities start arising. If I hadn't been happy for the lady that was doing Britain's Strongest Woman, I wanted her to succeed and be able to defend her title, we wouldn't have even got into Strongwoman. I now own Britain's Strongest Woman. I took it off the guy that was messing it up because I didn't like the way he was running it. I trademarked the name so no one could touch it, and now I run the Britain's Strongest Woman events and have taken it pretty much to another level. We're hoping to get on TV this year. I was on the talks with ITV the other week, and they might be looking at televising it. Wales' Strongest Woman didn't even exist until a few weeks ago, and I've made it happen. I'm going to get interviewed on Welsh TV in Welsh with a translator, which is going to be kind of weird. But and it's that one moment a few years ago of somebody walking into my gym and saying, "Oh, the event might not go on because there's not enough numbers," and taking that opportunity there has now turned into owning the biggest competition in the country. which is kind of cool. So yeah, that's my story. And has anyone got any questions? No?
Can I have a big round of applause, please? Thank you, that's your three speakers. There are sessions running for the